Have you ever run out of air underwater? How would you react if you did? Stay tuned. Welcome back to DiveVibe. I'm Zach. I'm a technical rebreather instructor, dive instructor, and a former Army medic and CLS instructor. And I am here today to react to this video and see what went wrong. So in this video, it takes us back to the St. Lawrence River. We've been there before. We'll probably be there again. There's a lot of divers diving in that place. I'll put a link to the first St. Lawrence River video I did right up there. Up there. I'm really bad at that. So in this one, kind of watch through part of it. We'll watch it together because I wanted to give like a more honest reaction so you can see me watch it. But I did check it out just to see if, it's worth being on the channel. And I think it is. In this one, a diver has a malfunction. We'll take a look, and it causes them to run low on air, and fun ensues.
Yay!
So let's check that out. Scuba diving emergency. Out of air in fast current. St. Lawrence River. You hear a boat or something up there. Oh, there's the line. Uh-oh. Okay, let's pause that for a second. So, we've got a leak. Looks like it's coming from the submersible pressure gauge. Now, there's a few different ways it could be leaking. The most common one is this. You probably can't see that. Ooh. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so that is a high pressure spool. This is what seals your submersible pressure gauge, but still allows it to swivel. I've got my single tank reg over here. I figured it'd be useful for demonstration purposes. But so this is the same thing as the gauge has got there. It's just made a little bit differently. This is a Scuba Pro gauge, but it's just like all the other. They call these brass and glass gauges. But if we open this up, yeah. So there's that gauge. There's usually a pretty good amount of lubricant on these. I like to keep mine lubricated just to prevent that. I dive in salt water, so these things tend to start leaking fairly quickly, and a little extra lube in that part tends to be very helpful. So we'll just put that back in there, and that's where the leak is probably coming from. It looks like a pretty big leak. Normally when you get a leak there, it's real small, but so it looks like this person has a pretty big leak going, or it's something else. Maybe the gauge is busted. There's an overpressure relief on the back of a lot of gauges. Maybe that's blown. There's a few things that are going wrong. There's a lot of bubbles coming out, and it kind of looks like they're at the end of their dive doing the safety stop because they're hanging on that line. But let's get back to it. Yeah, that's a really good leak. Okay. What just happened there? I know what happened, but okay. So this diver that he's swam up to because he's out of air. So they don't have a alternate air source in the traditional sense, meaning like just a regular spare second stage. They have an inline inflator alternate air source combo. And what that allows you to do is take one less hose off your BCD, off your regulator, excuse me. So instead of having an alternate air source on another hose, it's built into your inflator, so all you need is this hose. And it does have a special fitting because these normal Schrader ones aren't high flow enough for a diver to breathe through. So you have to have a special type of quick disconnect. So what that means is that this thing is really short. So what the diver has to do in order to share air, because first kind of tries to hand him the inflator, but that's not going to work. It's just way too close. You don't want somebody that close to you when they're out of air and potentially panicking. So then what they should be doing is switching to this alternate air source inflator and then handing them their primary that they're already breathing off of. It still makes the hose kind of short, so you're fairly close. And then what happens right here is the person passes it off and then doesn't immediately switch to their inflator because they're trying to get stuff figured out. Not blaming them, probably just a newer diver, and even with more experienced divers, when one of these situations happens, you do so many dives that are uneventful, where everything goes right, that when something like this does happen, it's kind of hard to be prepared for it. Well, it's not hard if you practice, but we'll get to that. Okay, there you go. Take that air. Okay, takes a minute. I'm gonna switch to it. Okay, now they're breathing off their inflator. Their alternate air source inflator, and he's got the primary. And now, because of the way that thing is designed, it's blowing bubbles in their face. Here's some more bubbles to add to the confusion. Bubbles are extremely disorienting when you're inside of them, by the way. Okay. What I'd really like to know is why they are still here. Is there a good reason for them to still be here? I could think of a couple. They shouldn't be in deco. They're definitely not equipped for that. I mean, they could be in deco, but I don't think that they are. If they were in deco, then yeah, they'd need to stay there. And then they'd be in even more trouble with the scuba police, as far as I'm concerned, if they're in deco at this point. But probably not in deco. I think more than likely they're trying to finish their safety stop. If you run out of air, a safety stop is just added fluff onto an already conservative profile that you're diving. So it's a good idea. I recommend doing a safety stop on every dive. I don't necessarily recommend doing a safety stop if you're out of air and currently sharing air. The longer you stay down there dealing with one of these problems, the more you are inviting more problems. So you really want to get out of there. Once you've got, once you're sharing air, okay, it's time to calmly move towards the surface. You don't need to rocket to the surface, but we don't need to stay underwater anymore, because now we're consuming the other person's tank, the donor's tank, at twice or more than that, the normal rate. So gas is going to become scarce real quick. Oh, here comes somebody else. It's like, I got some air for you. That hose looks short too. It's going to be hard to get to. Oh my god. Okay. See, it's amazing. Like, one problem is never what gets anybody. It's compounding problems. One problem problem just about any diver can handle. But then you start adding in more problems that probably come from having the first problem. That's what's happening with these bubbles. They're just making everything worse. They took the regulator out. When you pull a second stage regulator out of your mouth, you need to point the mouthpiece down. So as soon as you remove the regulator from your mouth, the mouthpiece needs to get pointed down. If you point it up, or even sometimes if you just pull it straight out, it will free flow on you, and that is not good because you're losing air, you're making bubbles, you're disorienting everybody, especially if they're right up close to you. Okay. All right, so now the person out of air, I don't know, it looks like they're assisting this diver, getting them over to the line. He's just like, stop. And now they're, oh, let me try my regulator again. Oh, nope, it's not working. Hey, I'm still out of air. Can anybody help me out here? Your most difficult task when you run out of air is going to be finding someone, and if you're in a dive group like this, finding someone that understands that you're having a problem. What do you mean? What does that mean? This person's got a strobe on their arm. They're very prepared gear-wise. Unfortunately, they're not very prepared training-wise. So what's my favorite thing to say? Don't solve a skill problem with equipment. Train. Oh my goodness. Look at these guys. Working so hard. Do you hear that air going? Why are we still here? Let's go. Is there a boat above you or something? It is time to get out of here. It's been time to get out of here. It's time to be back at the boat. Oh, that's it? But do they make it? Oh, the thumb! Thank you. Finally. Let's go. All right. So, man, what a cluster. I think that one of the main problems with that situation, I think the biggest problem was that nobody was, no one's practicing with their gear. Those guys are not running a drill every once in a while to make sure they remember how to share air and all that stuff. It seems simple until you have to do it in real life. And then there wasn't a lot of thought put into the equipment layout. I mean, a lot of people dive that layout where you got one second stage on a 30-inch hose over here, and then your inflator is also your alternate air source over here. So when you need to share air with someone, I know I already said this, but you switch to your alternate air source and you pass the primary off. So then you've only got 30 inches maximum between you and that other person. And that's 30 inches of hose that's got to come around your neck and across right here. That is not much room at all. So that's why I prefer, and I don't think everybody needs to dive with this system. It's kind of a technical setup, and not everybody needs to dive like this. But what you do need to do is train and practice in your gear so that you're ready for a situation like this. But I dive with a 7-foot, 84-inch hose. It's coming from behind my head. A lot of people say, "What do you do with all that hose?" And yes, it is a little bit unwieldy at first, but it runs down, tucks into your waistband, or runs underneath a catch or your canister light or something like that. And then it comes up across your chest, around your neck, and then when you're not using it, it's clipped off to your shoulder D-ring right here. When you are using it, it's in your mouth. So, it's very clean and streamlined. And when you need to share air, all you have to do is bring it up over your head and like that. All right, so now I've already got this distance, and then I can pull it out and get even more distance away from the panicking, compromised diver. It's like, well, how do you switch? What are you breathing off then? Well, I've got this one hanging off my neck right here with this necklace. That's getting loose. So it's pass, switch, or actually, I mean, you could just do the whole thing in one fluid motion. So, in your mouth, put that in one-handed. That way you don't even have to worry about your light over here. You can do the whole thing one-handed, or if you're not using a light or don't care, then you can go even faster, right? 2 hands. So that's my favorite setup for when I actually have to share air with someone, which could happen on any dive, so I kind of like that setup. But the most important thing is that you practice with your setup. It's all about practice and getting comfortable. Like, when you have your own equipment, especially when you have your own equipment, you should own that stuff. You should absolutely know it in and out. It should be a no-brainer. If somebody swims up to you and needs to share air, you own that equipment. You dive with it all the time. Why? You have no excuse for not being able to share air properly. They told you to do it in the class. You know how to do it. The problem is you probably haven't practiced since then. Sorry, I'm sure tons of you practice. I'm getting a little aggro over here. But anyway, so what went well on the dive? They were all together. That was good. They weren't separated. Everybody was paying attention for the most part, and they were eager to help. What went bad? The help wasn't all that effective, and they didn't ascend. Like, as soon as you've got the problem, once everybody is breathing and we're good, it's time to make a nice controlled ascent, but a direct ascent. It's time to go up if you can, right? That one got me going. All right, well, thanks for watching that video with me. If you liked it or you learned something, hit the like button because it helps me out a ton. And I'm noticing that most of my viewers are not subscribed. So what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button. I'm coming out with new videos all the time. And hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss them. You'll get an alert when one comes out. Leave a comment if you saw something I didn't in the video, or you've got any questions, or if you just want to talk. If you'd like to support the channel or buy me a beer, you can do that on Patreon, which is down in the description. We also have some t-shirts, and a new one just came out. It's very cool. I'll put another picture of it right up here. That's a cool shirt. Thank you so much for diving with me today, and I will see you in the water.
Beat by Apollo, stop at New Apollos. Cop a Henny sour, and I'm puffing Jack sour. Yeah, I feel a black power. Yeah, this time it's really ours. It's time to get the bag. Yeah, it's time to get the bag.